In today's economy, every ad dollar counts. That's why performance marketers are turning to Rokt ads to reach high intent customers in the transaction moment when they're completing a purchase online. Powered by AI and first party data, Rokt ads connects your brand with over 400 million monthly global shoppers, and you only pay when customers engage. Learn more at rokt.com/adage. That's ROKT.com/adage.
Hi, I'm John Dioso, editor of Ad Age Studio 30. Welcome to a special edition of Ad Age's Marketer's Brief podcast. In this episode, we're joined by Sophie Donoghue, Senior Vice President of Strategic Key Accounts at Rokt. Today, we'll discuss how shifting consumer behaviors in 2025 are shaping e-commerce, why precision performance marketing matters more than ever, and how the right tools can transform the way brands connect with shoppers. Now here's my conversation, Sophie. Sophie, welcome to Marketer's Brief.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course, thanks for being here. And now, for those in our audience who may not be familiar with Rokt, can you tell us a little bit about the company and what you do there?
Yeah, absolutely. So Rokt is an e-commerce technology company and we operate in the transaction or checkout moment. And so what that means is anytime from a customer putting something in their cart all the way through to post-purchase checkout. And so when you're potentially shopping online, you might be buying tickets on Ticketmaster, buying clothes at the Gap, or taking an Uber. You might see a placement with a personalized offer for you, and that's what Rokt is helping to power. So that could be a third-party offer, like something like a Hulu subscription, or it could be a first-party upsell, as in like getting a better seat at that particular concert or something like that. We use AI and real-time relevance engines to show the most relevant offer based on the user, which enables advertisers to reach customers at a highly receptive moment and drive ancillary revenue for our partners. I particularly focus on our QSR and marketplace clients. So on the food side of things, I work with brands like DoorDash, Pizza Hut, Inspire Brands, and on the marketplace side, brands like StockX, Groupon, and Poshmark.
You know, as I said in the intro, we've heard a lot about how consumer behavior is shifting in 2025. And just from the brands that you just rattled off that you partnered with, that's actually kind of informing that you can see where the consumers are. So people are still spending, but more selectively, right? So what patterns are emerging and how are brands adapting their strategies in response?
Yeah, so 2025 has definitely been an interesting year for consumer spending. So while overall spending is still growing year on year, the way in which consumers are spending is shifting, likely to a mix of uncertainty due to the tariffs and also just overall financial caution. But we are seeing that people are being more offer savvy and a little bit more open to trying an alternative product. And as a marketer, that creates like a huge opportunity in that you can capture new customers that may have historically been closed off to you. They're open to trying a new brand, but it also represents some challenges because holding on to your customers and driving LTV and retention has never been more important. So we've seen brands this year respond in a couple of different ways. And firstly, whenever there's uncertainty in the market, the very first thing that we hear from brands is they want certainty. So they typically tend to shift a little bit away from brand or upper funnel channels and come down to more performance marketing or lower funnel where they can guarantee yield, if you will. So a platform like Rokt can really benefit from that as we're focused on driving those measurable performance outcomes for our clients. And then even within our own platform, immediately after the tariffs were announced, we saw a couple of approaches unfold from our brands. Some brands chose to really hone in on efficiency, and that could come from maybe lowering their CPA target and tightening up their goals without actually reducing their overall spend. And then other brands really recognized there could be some softness or changing in the market, and they ramped up their spending to capitalize on gaining some more share of voice. So a couple of different tactics that we saw unfold from different brands immediately. Now that we're a little further down the road, I would say both strategies are still being utilized, but the importance for virtually all brands is clearer than ever, and it's focused on measuring and driving towards downstream and incremental outcomes. So this could be a customer making it from a 7-day free trial to being a paid subscriber, signing up to a credit card, but then actually using the credit card, or making one order on a retail site or making multiple orders within like a 30-day window. So the stronger the integrations the clients have and they can provide those LTV signals, the smarter our platform or any platform really can be in optimizing their campaign and finding those customers for them. So it's really been a case of like the more you're putting into the brain, if you will, our machine learning system, the more you can get out of it. So there's a couple of strategies that we've been seeing.
That's great. And we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsor.
In today's economy, every ad dollar counts. That's why performance marketers are turning to Rokt ads to reach high intent customers in the transaction moment when they're completing a purchase online. Powered by AI and first party data, Rokt ads connects your brand with over 400 million monthly global shoppers, and you only pay when customers engage. Learn more at rokt.com/adage. That's ROKT.com/adage.
And we're back. So, Sophie, why is the transaction moment such a powerful opportunity right now? And how is Rokt helping brands tap into that credit card in hand mindset, especially through tools like adaptive creative and real time targeting?
Yeah, so the transaction moment's a really incredible moment as customers are quite literally in the buying mindset and have just gone through and made a series of binary choices. So when they get to the end of that journey, they're really open to other offers and what is the next thing they should be doing. And when a customer has made a purchase, they typically get a little endorphin hit and they're in a good mood. So that's psychology. Plus, as you mentioned, they physically have their credit card in hand, means that they're ready to be introduced to a new brand and potentially make another purchase or sign up to a trial or something like that. When it comes to finding the right audience and delivering the right message, clients have so many tools at their disposal, and the evolution of AI has really allowed platforms like Rokt to evolve our products faster than ever. One tool that we created last year is called ACE, and that's our adaptive creative engine, which allows clients to generate tailored copy options and pass them out into their core elements, which could be the title or the body or the call to action or the image, to see what element of that creative is actually driving the impact, which you wouldn't have necessarily been able to tease apart before we created this tool and the subsequent experimentation tools that came alongside it. So we're viewing AI as an excellent tool to help enhance human skills as opposed to replacing it. So like no creative will ever go live on our network automatically. We have a team that helps finesse the creatives and works with our clients to make sure it's matching their tone. But the beauty of AI that we're learning is it does think differently to us and that it can see things that we sometimes can't see. And we should be open and leaning into that a lot more when we think about what messages we should be putting in front of customers. As far as finding the right customers, getting the audience targeting right is essential. So most of our clients will utilize a list of their existing high quality customers, and Rokt will create a lookalike audience to find similar people. And there are throttles in place. The client can choose if they really want to focus in on accuracy or scale or a balance of both. And in addition to leveraging things like lookalike audiences, they'll also run a broader audience, which is more exploratory and making sure we don't make too many assumptions. We're really big believers in letting the data speak for itself versus assuming all preconceived notions to be true. And some clients may think they only want to advertise on certain partners, like a Macy's or a Ticketmaster. But in reality, it's much more important who that person is versus necessarily where they're shopping. So I'll use myself as an example. One day I might be shopping on Ulta, and then the next day I'll buy movie tickets at AMC. Then I jump in an Uber, and then I'm shopping on Etsy. I'm the same person. I have the same discretionary income, and you as a brand would be happy to reach me on any of those e-commerce touch points, not necessarily specifically on one of those sites. On the other side of this, sometimes there are some really great and surprising fits with brands and partners. So a really great example of this is we launched a partner earlier in the year, Sonic. And typically for Sonic, you have to go to their restaurant or drive through to pick up your own food. So what this means is a huge percentage of customers that order from Sonic are car owners. And the moment that we unlock Sonic's traffic, we saw brands like SiriusXM with their satellite radio or Upside, which is an app that lets you get discounts off gas, perform exceptionally well. And they may not have been a natural assumption that those two brands would fit together. So it was a really great surprise. And all three brands are seeing great results. So it's been a wonderful fit for all parties involved, but also the customer and meeting them in their lifestyle and where they're at.
Can we go back to what you said earlier about AI thinking differently from us? I'm intrigued by that statement. And can you give me an example of any creative possibilities that the AI came up with that nobody in the team, like the humans who are overseeing it, would have done and then implemented in a real way, like something that we've actually seen or you've actually seen?
Yeah, I think where it's been great is picking up on different emotive types of language and tone. So where humans will lean in and say, maybe we're going for speed of a purchase, like buy today or shop today. In reality, appealing on the how you're saying that, and because you might be missing out, like fear of missing out or fear of being the last one, those sort of things can creep in and be really effective. We've also seen in the call to action some pretty compelling insights of when you actually reference the offer in the call to action, not just the copy. So, for example, get $10 off if you're utilizing a Rakuten or a Capital One shopping or something like that, putting that in that final call to action before they then go and sign up and get that product, that can be really compelling as well. Whereas historically, it might have been where you lead with it in the title.
That's great. Now let's look ahead. So, what's next for Rokt, and what should e-commerce brands be doing now to stay ahead of the curve? Where are the biggest growth opportunities in a slower but still evolving market, and how should marketers be thinking differently about measurement, messaging, and momentum?
Yeah, so what's next for Rokt is really continuing our product evolution to solve problems for all three sides of our marketplace. So that being our partners, our advertisers, and our end customers. For our partners, we're really leaning heavily into layout design experimentation. For advertisers, we're focusing on unlocking as many measurement tools as possible to ensure we can accurately measure performance and drive that high quality scale for them. And lastly, and probably the most important side of the marketplace is the end customer. And for them, we're really laser focused on improving our ML models that each and every time they see a Rokt placement, it's a highly personalized offer for them. For brands to stay ahead of the curve, I would encourage them to keep an open mind and a real testing mentality. So, testing new channels, meeting customers where they're at. Like the marketing landscape has just evolved so much. And if you ask someone 10, 15 years ago where they were finding customers, they probably would say TV and social. I think if you ask them 5 years from now, I'll be pretty surprised if they don't say e-commerce and social. And e-commerce and online shopping behavior, it's here to stay. I think everyone can see that. And if you aren't already sort of leaning in and finding that next wave of customers and meeting them where they're at while they're shopping, you might already be a little bit potentially behind the curve. So I'd just say being open to trying new channels, whether it's Rokt or another channel. I think that there's lots of great opportunity out there. And lastly, I would challenge brands to do the work on the front end with their marketing platforms to get the setup right so you can immediately unlock full value of any channel. One of the most common things that we see is, let's say a brand updates their integration to be more robust. They immediately see the improvement in results. The first thing they say, or their boss end up saying, is, why didn't we do this sooner? So don't be that person. Get the integrations right at the start. Lean into really accurate measurement and be open to trying new messages, as different things can really resonate with different customers. So overall, don't be fearful. Lean into AI, lean into testing new channels, and you might be surprised.
I love that. You know, one of the things that we've been hearing every so often is that the funnel doesn't exist anymore. That basically, you talk about, brand awareness and all the way down to performance or selling. And does the funnel exist anymore, in your opinion?
That's a great question. It's funny because Rokt actually both the top and the bottom of the funnel, which
Right.
can be a little bit contradictory when you're talking to people, but I think it exists in a way. I think that you can find people anywhere within the funnel and it can be effective. For Rokt, for example, we're at the top of the funnel because you weren't searching for the brand that you're being presented with. So when I'm buying on Ticketmaster, I'm not searching Hulu, but that's an offer that's relevant for me. So it's not as bottom funnel as search. But because you can then drive immediately and go and do that and make that purchase, it does drive those bottom of the funnel outcomes. So to your point, I think it's kind of blurry. I think that some channels can be a bit of both, and that's okay. And that sort of comes back into the testing, is you don't know what you don't know, and what definitely worked last year may not be the perfect mix again next year. So just getting ahead of that curve and trying new things.
I love that. And I love what you said about customers evolving and brands should evolve along with them.
Yeah.
We're not always going to be hopefully, we won't always be in a challenging economic environment or socio-political environment. And, but the consumers, they evolve, but then their needs are usually the same. They want the products that they need, and, the brands should continue to market correctly to them. That's really great. So unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Sophie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's great.
That was Sophie Donoghue, Senior Vice President of Strategic Key Accounts at Rokt. I'm John Dioso, editor of Ad Age Studio 30. Special thanks to our producer, Lauren Ciardio, and to you, our listeners. Be sure to subscribe to the Marketer's Brief podcast on your favorite player. We promise to keep it brief, or at least short enough to finish before your next meeting. Thanks for tuning in.
Marketer's Brief listeners get $40 off an adage.com subscription. Sharpen your marketing edge and visit adage.com/brief for your discount.